attendeth my way. When sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this blessed assurance control, that Christ has regarded my helpless estate and has shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. My sin, oh, the bliss of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, oh my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Amen.
We've got some pretty awesome performers around here. They do a great job for us. We are spoiled. I don't know how many youth groups you've been to when you get this much talent coming off the stage for you guys. So hope you appreciate it. And when you see these guys around, you give them some love for blessing you in this way. Thank you. You've blessed me this morning, my friend. If you don't have a Bible, go ahead and put your paw up in the air and we will bring you one. Our leaders are coming around to get that for you. And we're going to be jumping around a lot today, so let's hope you can keep up. It's our version of Bible drills. So just put that hand up, keep it up, and we will actually be starting. Where will we be starting today? In the book of Romans. So we can start there. I'll give you a heads up on that one. But then we've got about 7-8 verses we'll be covering this morning. So do your best to keep up. If you're like, I don't want to open up a Bible, I get it. Then we will have them up on the screen. But we want you feeling it, touching it, turning it, if you could. Also, while you're getting those, just a reminder, these were put on your seat right here. Okay, these are for Wednesday nights. We want you to fill one of these out. Even if you're like, hey, I'm not going to be able to show up every single Wednesday night, only once in a while, that's fine. Still fill one of these out. Or you're like, hey, I'm not going to be able to start showing up on Wednesday nights until like month 3 or month 2. That's okay. Put that on there. Let us know, because we want to be able to start thinking ahead and putting you guys into groups. Last year, we had 130 of you in small groups. That was crazy and awesome all at the same time. And we want to do that for you. It's an opportunity for you guys to dig in deeper to the information that we're throwing out at you guys on Sundays, and give you an opportunity to actually speak and not just be spoken at. So, okay, we ready for the final leg of hymns? Hymns meaning a song of praise. We've been covering these men and women who are so in tune with the Spirit, so in tune with the Scriptures and their faith, that they are able to write music that is so incredible, that shows such praise to God. And we've covered all kinds of songs, and old ones, newer ones. And this morning we're covering one that was written in the late 1800s called "It Is Well." Who has never heard that song up until this morning? Okay, a couple of you, awesome. But most of you have heard it, right? You've heard it here, you've heard it in main service, you've heard it sometime maybe along the way. You've heard it maybe on TV, whatever. You've had even artists, professional artists perform this song. It's pretty well known. So here's the deal. This hymn is pretty hardcore. So we're going to be going and diving into some deep discussion of stuff. And so it's going to get a little serious. So before we get there, I just want you to look at your neighbor. Just stare at them for a second. Just for a second. Just stare at your neighbor. Pick one. And just say, hey. It's probably going to get serious. But remember, you guys got to be saying this. But remember, there you go. I'm here with you. And if it gets too serious, just hold my hand. No, just kidding. Okay, just hold my hand through it. No, some of the guys are like, yes, finally. The pretty girl next to me, she has to hold my hand. Yeah, it's just it's a heavy story behind it. It's a heavy hymn, but I think it's important for us to cover it. And so, yeah. So let's dive in. So I want to start with the first half, or the first part of the hymn, to just kind of give you an idea, to grasp an idea of what's going on here and how deep this hymn really is and what the author is saying. Okay, so right at the beginning, we get, when peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. And then the refrain says, it is well with my soul, it is well with my soul. This is what he's saying, that in the highs and the lows, that in the good times and the bad times, my soul will praise you, God. My soul will be content. Whatever the storm, whatever the trial, my soul will be well. The man who wrote this song, his name is Horatio Spafford. He wrote it in the late 1800s, okay? He was a businessman in Chicago with a great family, big family of 5 children, lots of real estate. That's what he invested in. That's where all his savings were. And really involved, a Christian man, really involved in the ministry of D.L. Moody. D.L. Moody was the Billy Graham of the 1800s. He traveled around and preached in crusades, kind of like Billy Graham did. And now we can think of this man's life from that perspective, be like, man, he was rich. He, at least for that time, because he had tons of real estate in Chicago. He had a great family. He's a Christian man. And you can almost see him, in his 2-story house, 3-story house, looking out into just a beautiful view and writing this hymn, as he's reading the scriptures and unpacking them and being like, wow, God, you're so good to me. You've blessed me so much. I'm going to respond to you in this way that no matter whatever happens in my life, I'm gonna love you. I'm going to be about you. Things are going to be well with my soul, whatever you bring toward my life. If we look at Horatio from that perspective alone of what he had in the early 1870s, we could say, dude, you don't even understand hardship. Like, things have gone well for you. You're a wealthy man. You have your family's healthy. Everyone's healthy. Everything's good. But a series of events unraveled in his life in 1870s that eventually led to the writing of this hymn. And here's what happened. First, he had four girls and a little boy. First, he lost his son. He lost his son to scarlet fever at 4 years old. Okay? Just a child. A year later, have you ever heard of the famous Chicago fires? Okay? That event happened, and he lost everything. Everything he owned in real estate, everything burned down. All his savings, everything gone. After that happened, just a year after he lost his child, that alone can be devastating to someone, right? You can feel like you're going to be bankrupt. What do you do with yourself? Soon after that, he thought, you know what? I'm going to take my family on vacation. They had a vacation plan to go to England and join D.L. Moody in his crusade that he was doing there, because they were good friends, close friends and connected to his ministry. We're all going to go on this vacation. We need to get away after all that happened. Last second, a business matter came, and Horatio could not go with his family. So he sent them ahead, on a ship out of New York, and he stayed behind. Days later, on the news, and at that point it wasn't Instagram, it wasn't, TV, it was in the paper, he received news that the very ship that his family was on in an incredible wreck. Not only any wreck, but like up to that point, the greatest wreck recorded in naval history until the Titanic 40 years later. This wreck took the lives of 226 people, including Horatio's 4 daughters. His wife survived. Later on, she would tell you, or she told people that she felt like she heard God say to her, I saved you for a purpose. She sends a telegram to him basically saying, look, I was spared. I don't know what to do. Let's just stop there for a second. I have 2 boys. I love them with all my life. I would give them up for nothing. If I lost those 2, I don't know what I would do. I don't know where I would be in headspace. I don't know how I would continue. And here, within a few years, you lose all of your children like that. Horatio got on a ship to go be with his wife immediately as soon as he heard all that went down out of New York. As he's on this ship, the captain brings them to the deck, and he says, these are the exact words he says to him, a careful reckoning has been made, and I believe we are now passing the very place where the Valle du Havre, which was the name of the ship, sank, the ship that your children were in. That's where Horatio, while staring into the watery grave of his 4 daughters, penned the words to this great hymn. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Like, this is the headspace that he was in. This is where he was at. How can someone say these kinds of things after experiencing what he had just experienced? How? Like, how can this be the response of a human being? Does he not care about his daughters? Was he not close to them, maybe? Like, these are questions that are demanded from us. Like, how could you say those things? That it is well and that you feel peace in your heart after losing everything, all your life savings, and all of your children. And not just like they got sick or the Lord took them up to heaven. No, they just, in like the worst way, in a hurtful way. So did he not care about them? Was he not close to them? Absolutely not. He has an understanding about life and God that I hope I can grasp in my lifetime. He experienced a peace that is directly from God. Now, things like this, songs like this, situations like this, responses like this, I believe beg us to ask a couple of questions here. Now, I don't want to open this can too wide. But this idea of evil and this idea of why do bad things happen to good people, right? That's like a question that everybody loves to ask. I think we have to talk about it at least a little bit. All right, I don't want to get into all of it because I think we could do a whole series just on that alone. Because when you see something like this happen, or you think of the situations you've been in your own lives, what is the usual response? What is it? What would you say? You can, I'm actually asking you. What would you usually say? Okay, things like God's testing me. What else? What is a usual human response? God's not real. What else? Why? What else? Any anger? Anybody would agree with anger? I would. I'd be like, what in the world? Right? Why? Not understanding. It doesn't make sense. Like, these are the things that go through your head. And then as a Christian, you start asking questions like, why does evil exist? And I would say to that very simply like this, because I don't want to unpack it too much. I think when we ask that question, why does evil exist? We're giving evil way too much credit. Evil is just the absence of good. Evil is doing the opposite of who God is and what he calls us to. Evil is choosing to do the opposite of what God, the creator of all, intended. We don't ask when a hole is made in the ground, that hole exists. No, that is the absence of whatever you took out of that hole. Light or darkness doesn't exist. It's the absence of light. Evil is the absence of good. So it just boggles my mind when people get so caught up in like, why did God create this thing? No, God is good. He intended goodness. And what we do is the opposite, which is named evil. Why do bad things happen to good people? Well, there's a lot to that question that we can go into. But I'm just going to answer it this way. We are given freedom of choice. With the choice to choose good comes the opportunity to choose what? Wrong and evil, poorly. To choose the opposite of good. And that's when people get hurt. That's when people get hurt. People die. People get cancer. People get hurt. They get lied to. They get divorces. They backstab each other. Because we live in a broken world with decaying bodies, with selfish people, evil people. Eventually, you're going to get hurt. one way or another. But as a child of God, he promises not just to let that trial lie. He doesn't cause your trial and pain, but he will not use it for your benefit in the long run. And this is why Jesus had to die. See, he knew these things were coming. As soon as evil, even started showing up among us, as soon as sin started showing up among us, death, physical death started showing up among us, as soon as those things, Jesus like, I got to get to work. Because not only do I want them with me for eternity once they die, but I need to be with them in the midst of what this life journey is going to look like. Am I saying you shouldn't hurt? Am I saying you shouldn't be angry? You shouldn't have emotion? You shouldn't mourn? No, absolutely not. But I ask you, what is the attitude behind it? What's your heart behind it? Think about it, you guys. I don't know where you've been. I don't know what you've experienced. I don't know if you've been hurt, if someone's hurt you, if you've hurt someone else, if you've been in the middle of mourning, if life has thrown some curveballs at you that you're just like, what, God, what in the world? And it's hurt you, and you're mourning and you're hurting. I'm telling you, that's okay. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But I will ask you this. What is your heart behind that? Is it just plain anger? You have to blame someone? You just have to shake your fist at God? What is it? Because look, in John 11, you don't have to turn there because I'm not going to read out of it. But in John 11, you have this crazy story of Mary and Martha, and their brother Lazarus has just died. A lot of you have heard this story before, okay? They call out to Jesus, and Lazarus had been sick. And they call out to Jesus and say, Jesus, come. He's sick. He's going to die. We know what you're capable of. We've seen what you're capable of. Come and save him. And Jesus doesn't come on time. And when he arrives, these women are upset. They're like, man, they almost blame him. If you would have came, if you would have just shown up at the right time, right? I'm saying this to the God of the universe. If you would have just shown up at the right time, and they're crying, and they're mourning, and they're weeping, what does Jesus do? In the story, if you've ever read it, he doesn't say to them, hey, shut up. I'm God. I got this. He doesn't say that. He mourns with them. He lets, in a way, he lets them react the way they're reacting. And he even weeps with them, right? So what's the shortest verse of all the Bible? Jesus wept. That's where it comes from. He wept with them. He wept over the fact that death had taken one of his best friends. So he joins them in that, but he doesn't leave them there. If you keep reading, he then reminds them of the truth and brings them to the truth of the gospel and gives them and encourages them and gives them hope that they're not going to stay there, that Lazarus is not going to stay in that way. As believers, we shouldn't mourn as people who have no hope. Don't walk around blaming God. Blame sin. People's selfishness, evil that is done all around you, including your own. Then ask God to raise something beautiful out of these ashes. I'm sure Horatio hurt. I'm sure he mourned. But he didn't stay there. God brought peace, brought clarity, and his soul was settled down. So, how? How can we say it is well? How, if we're in a trial in our lives right now, or we've gone through one and it's just, you've just kind of put it up on the shelf, you don't want to think about it, and you're just angry at God, or maybe one might be coming your way, because I promise you eventually you will face one. Watch. Check your wrist. Check for your pulse. Okay? Say I got it when you got it. You got your pulse? Okay. Are you alive? Are you alive? Then you will face a trial sometime in your life. It's just going to happen. It's how it goes. All of our lives are moving like this. Listen, as you're living life, we're just coming and going, and sometimes we're going to intersect. It's going to happen. with something that you didn't plan on. It will happen. It will come. Will you be ready? So how can I say it is well with my soul? So I'm going to give you 3 quick things, all right? We're going to go fast because we're running out of time. The first one is this: believe that he is in control and wants good for you. We need to believe, actually choose to believe that God is in control and he wants good for you. What if we actually gave God the benefit of the doubt in that? That he actually wants these things, that he's actually in control, and he wants good for us. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. All things work together, meaning it's not just immediate. All things are, it doesn't say all things are immediately for your good. No, all things will work. It'll get there. You got to trust him. You're his children. You got to trust him. You got to believe that he's in control of the situation, that he actually wants good for you. Horatio knows God is in control. He proclaims it and puts things into perspective in the next part of the verses. Look, though Satan should buffet, meaning basically have his way in my life or come after me, though trials should come, let this blessed assurance control. This one, ready? That Christ has regarded my helpless estate and hath shed his own blood for my soul. Basically this: let the truth that Christ is for me and with me is in control. Christ knows. He gets it. He understands the helpless place you are in. He is saying, let the truth of the gospel be in control. Let it cover you. And then he continues, my sin, oh, the bliss of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, not just a piece of what I've sinned, but all of it, but the whole is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. Horatio is again leaning in and on the truth of the gospel. Jesus died for me. He more than understands pain, hurt, betrayal. He can mourn with me. He understands me. In fact, it's why he shed his own blood for me. So he has that right to proclaim those things in our lives. Number 2, trust that he is with you. You are not alone. Trust that he is with you. You are not alone. When we go through a trial or pain somehow, in those moments, those early times, we feel alone. We feel like no one understands us. Man, some of you, maybe something happened years ago, and you still feel alone in the midst of that trial or that pain. Horatio reminds us of the cross, that it's a great reminder that he, Jesus, does understand, like I said a little bit before. He understands our broken hearts more than we know. Plus, God promises he is with us. Look at Isaiah 57:15, if you can get there quickly. Isaiah 57:15 says this: for thus says the one who is high and lifted up, who inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the highest and holy place. Let's stop there for a second. Look at this description. The description of God and how incredible he is and how high he is. The God of the universe does this. Look, and also with him who is of a contrite and lowly spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite. I, God, who am big, who powerful, God of the universe, in control of everything, am choosing and saying, hey, are you hurting? Are you lowly? Are you down? Are you in pain? I'm with you. I'm about you. I'm in your life. Let me in. Psalm 34:18 says this: the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Your brokenness, you're crushed in spirit. The word is of the Lord says that he's near you. A few years back, I'll say this real quick. A few years back, I've done a few funerals. Not fun. I told you this was going to get real. Bump to your neighbor's like, I told you. He told us. Bump to your neighbor. He told us. But remember, I'm with you. Come on. Come on, I'm still with you. You can hold my hand if you want. Okay? Wake up. So listen, because this is going to get even more real. I've done a few funerals in my life. Probably the worst funeral I've ever had to do was one of a boy. He was 15 years old. He got hit by a car, died instantly. Okay? Here's why it was, obviously, in and of itself, was just a bummer, and it is not fun to have to do a funeral like that in front of all these people who are mourning, right? Here was the worst part. You ready? Here's the worst part. Look at me. At some point, I had to go sit with his mom. What do I say to her? That's all I can think of in my head. What do I say? This was God's plan? Please. That's a cop-out. It's all going to be okay? No, it's not going to be okay. My son's dead. You see what I'm saying? So this was going on in my head. Like, what am I going to do? The most of my response was just to be with her. I went, I sat with her, I cried with her, and I was just there with her. And if she wanted to talk, we'd talk. But most of the time, we just sat. And that meant the world to her. Sometimes, we're inside, we're like, oh, God, can you just give me an answer? You don't need an answer, because you wouldn't get it anyways. That information is too big. Sometimes you just need God to just come sit by you. That's it. Just be with me. And he's saying, I'm with you. Yeah, God is not the enemy. Sin is the enemy. Death is the enemy. Sin, this stuff that tries to take us out, that is the enemy. You guys saying, hey, we've got the same enemy. Don't turn on me. Don't throw your fist up at me. If anything, I've given you an out. Because it's not going to be like this forever. I'm with you. Trust me. These ashes, this ugliness that has burnt everything down around you, lean on me. I will bring something beautiful out of it. Just give it time. Number 3, surround yourself by others who know the truth and will point you to Jesus. Who's around you? A bunch of negative Nancys? Yeah, God does suck, see? It's like, whoa. Yeah, you've been giving your life to God your whole life, and look, he made you, he allowed you to be sick, or he allowed your mom to be sick, or he took your sibling early, or you didn't get into that school, or your body's, you hurt your leg, or you hurt your arm, or whatever. And so you have friends around you being like, see, how's God real? Look at those things. Again, that's a cop-out, and that's easy. Anybody can do that. Who's around you? Who surrounds you and speaks truth into your life? Is it truth at all? Galatians 6:2 says, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Love your neighbor as yourself. Remember? You're not called to go through these things alone. Yes, friends are good. Peers are good. But sometimes you got to go to people maybe who've gone through these things. Let them speak into your life. Not that they have all the answers, but they at least have experienced. Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. These people will help lift you up, remind you of the truth when you don't have the energy to believe it. When you're in the middle of your trial, when you're in the middle of your hurt, you're like, dude, right now I'm just not believing this. That's okay. I'm here with you. I'll believe it for you. Let's get through this day, and tomorrow's a new day. And slowly you build that strength. You guys, I don't know what you've experienced. I don't know where you are right now. Something maybe has been done to you. Something just happened. Something maybe you caused. Maybe something that happened in the past. Whatever it is, if your heart is broken, if you are mourning, if you are scared, if you're just deep, just questioning everything about God because of something you've experienced, you need to know the Lord is near you. He promises it. It shows you right here. You got to go to him. Don't blame him. Don't allow the ashes of whatever happened paint your future. Let God raise something beautiful out of those ashes. As the band comes up, I want to end with this. Check out this verse. I came across this verse not long ago, and I was like, what? It made my relationship with God so much more intimate. These two verses, or I'm going to share with you. One is this, Psalm 56:8. Listen to this. You have kept count of my tossing. Put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book? This verse somehow is showing us and telling us that somehow God is so in tune with us, so close to us, that he even keeps count and record of our tears. That's crazy. That's intimate stuff. My two boys are here. If they were crying right now, I'd be like, we're going to have to pause this for a second. What's going on? Or if somebody hurt them and they were crying, then it's on, right? It's not fun to see those that you love like that hurt, especially cry. Have you ever seen a friend cry or a sibling cry or your mom cry and you're like, all right, who do I need to beat up, right? Like you want to do something about it. So this makes sense. That God would be this way for us, that he keeps count, that he keeps record of it, because you and I are his children, and we're important to him in that way. And this is the last verse. Let me share with you a promise, okay? Look, you may agree with what I said. You may not. You may be like, yeah, Arnold, but the pain still doesn't go away. It doesn't explain everything exactly of why God would allow those things to happen. Look, I can't answer that. Because God is so in control, yet these things happen. So why does God allow it? Why didn't he just stop the cancer? Why didn't he stop the death? Why didn't he stop the backstabbing? Why didn't he stop the divorce? Why didn't he stop my scholarship being taken away from me? Why didn't he stop those things? Here's the answer. I don't know. I can't give you that answer. That is a mystery. I'm not God. All I can tell you is what I read and what I see. That he wants good for you. That we live in a world that's evil and will hurt you and tear you down. And it's why he had to show up on that cross. So we would have an answer. So there would be salvation in the midst of this pain. I can't tell you the answer. It's a mystery. But he calls us to believe him, to trust him. Because think about it, at the end of the day, who wins when we just do this to God? God doesn't win. You definitely don't win. Sin and death does. That's exactly what the enemy wants. So let me share this verse, and my hope is that it speaks to your heart. Because at the end of it all, you may not see something tomorrow. You may not see something next month, but at the end of it all, this is his ultimate promise. Revelation 21:4 says this: he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. Have you ever thought about this fact? Why does God want to take us back to a state of no pain, no death, no mourning, no loss? Why does he want to take us to a state of that? I think it's because that was the original plan. You weren't created to experience death. You weren't created to experience mourning. That is why the question is why? Like we can't even wrap our heads around it, but it happens. But that wasn't the original design. Yet we are thrown into a world where we experience these things that our flesh, that our brains, that our hearts originally were not designed for. Yet we step into this pool of hurt and pain, and we have to swim. And Jesus says, I'm with you in the midst of that. We're going to get through this. You will not fully understand it right now, but you got to lean on me. I'm with you. This series has been super fun. It's been incredible to watch just the lyrics of these wonderful, wonderful authors. And not only that, throughout the whole series, we asked you guys to write things to us. Not to us, but to God, and to turn them in on these little sheets. And you guys wrote poems, Thanksgiving, how you felt about God, all these beautiful truths. And we got to read. We had a stack of them. We had to read them all. That we didn't want to just throw them away. We had to do something about this. So our team, Kim, Curtis, Austin, everybody had a hand in it. Nate, all these guys had a hand in it. John, we ended up buying these instrument pieces right over here. You see those? And what they did, they wrapped all those instruments in your guys' letters. So they will be up on our wall forever. Because this was the whole point of this series, of these song praises, these praises to God, and you guys gave those. And they're up on the wall. So if you want to go see that afterwards, it's kind of like, it's a form of us putting up there what God has done here in the last 8 weeks of teaching us through these hymns. Go ahead and stand, and we're going to end with a couple songs here as I pray. Dear Jesus, I thank you for this series. It's different, but it's been amazing to jump in and see the beautiful lyrics that have been written that come directly, they bleed out directly out of Scripture and out of your truths. God, I don't wish pain on anyone. I don't want people to hurt. And neither do you. It's why you came. It's why this world is going to be restored back to you. It's why we are being restored back to you and what you designed originally. But in the mix of it all, it's going to get ugly. We will experience hurt. But it's why you gave us your truth. God is why you gave us your Son. It's why you gave us each other. May we learn more every day and trust that you are in control, that we can trust you, that you do want good for us. May we lean on the right people around us that will speak the truth of the gospel into our lives. Thank you for all that you are doing as you're raising beautiful pictures out and beautiful results out of the ashes of some of the stories in this very room. But those of us who are stuck, just either playing the blame game or just want to sit in mourning, God, may they not mourn as a person with no hope. But may you become very real in their lives, and may they start asking questions for the right people, put the right people in their lives to answer those questions and point them right back to you. In Jesus' name.